And I thought I'd show you how to do home cured bacon from scratch rather than buying it from the shop. It's quite easy to do. Obviously you're going to cure it with a mixture of salt and sugar, plus some Prague powder #1 curing salt, just to get rid of all the bugs. Don't use much of that. All we have to do is, well, I'm going to use pork loin for this because my wife doesn't like too much fat. You could obviously use pork belly, that's the more normal one. We have to weigh it so we get our percentages right of the sugar, salt and the curing salt. And then we just have to measure it to see how long we're going to actually cure it for. We can do a rule of thumb, but we'll measure it. So we need a tape measure. So we need a set of scales, a tape measure, and we just need a few balls. Mix it all together. A couple of Ziploc bags you can use. Probably best to actually do vacuum sealing, but I haven't got a vacuum sealer. So I'll just use a couple of these and put it in a bowl because some of the liquid does come out. Get it fairly airtight. These seal up, of course, if they're not bust. Tend to bust, these cheap ones. So I use two, one at each end, because it only just fits in. Right, okay. I've got the plastic on still, but it doesn't really matter that much. Now it says it's 2.1 kilograms. We want it slightly more accurate than that. Let's see. 2.1? It was right, 2,102. Well, because we've got the wrapping on, we call it 2.1, so that's 2,100 grams. Make a note of that. And I like to go for a 3.5% salt and 4% sugar. Normally you go between 3 and 5% for sugar and salt. When it's slightly more salty, you go up to 5%. And the ratio is nearly a 1-to-1. My wife, once again, likes it not too salty. So you could do a 5% salt and perhaps 4% sugar or 3% sugar. This is sort of like 1-to-1. People sometimes do twice as much salt as sugar. That's quite a salty one. But we'll stick with the normal that we do, about 1-to-1 ratio. So 3.5% salt, 4% sugar of the 2,100 grams total. I'll work out it on the calculator in a minute what that is. And the cure, you only use 0.5%, you don't use too much. It's pretty potent stuff, so we'll get a grams for that. We'll mix it all together in the mixing bowl, and then we'll start putting it on the actual meat, try and get as much in the actual flesh as possible. Then into the Ziploc bags. Any excess, tip it in as well. We're going to try and keep it as accurate as possible. And then we'll work out our curing time. Now what I'll just do is I'll make a note of the thickness at the moment. Now it's not round, so you normally do the maximum thickness. We'll do it that way. And it's 11 centimeters. So we'll use that for our guide for the curing time. There's online websites that do let you calculate what the actual total time is from the thickness. So I'll put a link in my description on the YouTube video. So we've got 11 centimeters. I'll come back in a minute with all the actual end numbers. Right, so I've got the Excel spreadsheet that works it all out for me on those percentages. So for 2.1 kilograms of pork, 2,100 grams, 73.5 grams of salt, 84 grams of sugar, 10.5 grams of the cure, and the curing time to go for 11 centimeter thick is 13 days. If you've got something like pork belly, it's a bit less, and if perhaps there's not as much meat, you might only have about 7 to 10 days then. So yeah, 13 days will do. It doesn't matter too much because their percentages are right. Equilibrium, brining as it is. So what I'm going to do now is just going to weigh out all the three ingredients, salt, sugar and cure, and then we'll get it put on the meat. I'll be back in a minute. Right, okay, so obviously I've mixed up the three ingredients, the curing salt, the sugar and the normal salt. It actually is poisonous, the curing salt, so don't start, you shouldn't start licking your fingers anyway because we've got pork. So when I'll put this on the pork in a minute, I'll have very dry hands. I'll put it all on as much as I can into the pork. Anything left over, when I put the pork in the bag, and then I'll tip the rest in and seal it up properly, and then wash your hands straight away, of course. Like I say, the pork's not good anyway, but the pink curing salt's equally nasty, so make sure afterwards you do clean your hands. Right, what I'll do is I'll get this all covered up get back on the camera then, and then put it in the bag. I'm not doing it while the camera's running because I'll be tripping over it because it's on a tripod, and also it's a bit messy, but I'll show you the end result in a minute. And there we have it. I've washed my hands, cleaned all the bowls that I've used up to now, just had a wipe down, so got rid of all the curing salt. As you can see, it's in the double bag. This is slightly too long, this piece, for the 2 bags, so that's why I did 2. It's busted open at that end, but this one's sealed. It might pop open, but we'll put it in this, which is slightly too small as well. It would have been ideal if their pork loin was that long length, but it's just slightly too long. But there you go. So then it goes in the fridge for 13 days. Just turn it over each day and pat it on the top. Try and push some of the stuff in. You see all the salt mixture, the cures, falls off. And what it does, it'll bring an awful lot of the water during the cure out of the pork, so it becomes a brine. So that's your brine in effect. So it's a dry brine, and it obviously sucks the water out. And then once after 13 days, you can eat it then after cooking, obviously, or you can let it dry off for a while to get rid of some of the extra moisture, and you can have sort of more like a dry bacon. So we'll pop this in here and into the fridge, and we'll be back later. Well, there's a Christmas tree. Yeah. And other stuff. Oof. And what is that? Half a bed? Okay, so we've been curing for 13 days and it's now ready. As you can see, it was a dry rub, but it's got lots of liquid inside, which we'll have to tip off. Once you've tipped it off, you can actually just leave it in the fridge so it goes quite dry, or you can wrap it up in plastic, obviously, it'll be more moist. We'll probably just put it in the fridge and then slice bits off. So let me get it out of the package. I'm going to make a bacon sandwich, so I'm going to make my own loaf of bread to make the bacon sandwich. Well, we tried wholemeal loaf the other day and it was a bit too healthy, to put it mildly. It was a bit stodgy. So I'm going to add some pizza flour just to lighten it up a bit, so it'll be half healthy, apart from the bacon, which is healthy bacon, but bacon's never that healthy, obviously. Not like a tomato on it, a tomato sandwich. No, that would be really healthy, but it's not. It's a bacon sandwich. Anyway, let's see how we get on, and let's take this out and have a look at it. And there we have it. Well, we've actually got a spring hailstorm, so I've had to put the lights on because it's so dark. It was sunny 10 minutes ago, and then we got tropical storm bacon coming in. So here, I hope you can see this. So there's my cured bacon. It's the healthy version. Obviously, it's not its belly pork. It's up the loin, but as you can see, it's pinked into the middle. It's been cured properly. Do some thick slices, obviously. Get quite a lot out of this. I'll leave it on the side, and then I'll show you the results in a bacon butty later. A homemade bacon butty, no less. Yeah, looking good. Right, I'll go and wash my hands again. Got to keep washing your hands when you got one of those bad boys. And let's start cooking start baking that bread. And there we have it. I've got my bacon, I've got my loaf I've done for a bacon sandwich. So I've just got to cook it now in a frying pan, as you do, or in the oven. Yeah, looking good. Thick cut, of course. I don't have a slicer, so just do it by hand with a sharp knife. But I like it thick. It's not too salty. We've tried a bit already. Yeah, not too salty. Slightly sugary, as we like it. Sweet.